Greetings. About a month ago, I did a video where I talked about not feeling the love for Allstate or Enterprise anymore based on what I thought wasn't the best customer service that I had received after the day that I had my car accident. So I put that out there, and what I did when I went to promote it on Twitter is I included the Twitter handles for both Allstate and Enterprise. The reason I did that is because I'm someone who has a long history of contacting companies when they have irked me. Now, when I was a lot younger, I would write companies for stuff that when I was telling people later on, they would say, that's the oddest thing I've ever heard of. For instance, I don't know if you're old enough to remember the big banana pins. I don't know if you remember those things. Well, what would happen is you would get them. I loved to write with them. They had this blue kind of felt tip pin, whatever, but they always leaked. And so one time I bought a pack of 10 and the first 7 of them leaked. I was irked because, this was my money. Now, they weren't super expensive, but, I was a kid, so they were expensive to me. So what I did is I took 2 of the pins and put them in a plastic bag, and I wrote a letter to the big people, and I sent it to them, complaining about their pins. What did they do? They sent me coupons for 2 10 packs of the same big pins, which leaked anyway, but still, that told me, hey, I may be onto something here. So I used to write companies. Remember Sweet Tarts? I can't find them anymore, but I used to love Sweet Tarts, and I always loved the red ones because they were cherry. One time, I did not get a single cherry Sweet Tart. I was so irked because I had spent my money on that I wrote the company, and they sent me Sweet Tarts. They sent me a whole box of Sweet Tarts. It's amazing. But they're really trying to make sure that they keep certain customers happy, because if you're the squeaky wheel, you've heard this, if the squeaky wheel gets the grease, well, you know what? I was griping about stuff. And so I used to get reimbursed, that's the way I saw it, for my trouble of spending my money on something and then not getting what I expected. I have continued that for a lot of years. Now, I'm not so active anymore doing that type of thing, but I still will have a complaint if I have spent a certain amount of money. So when I did that video a month ago, I had gripes against both Allstate and Enterprise because I thought their customer service was lacking. However, my issue with Enterprise was it also cost me an extra $200 that it shouldn't have cost me. So, like I said, I promoted it out there and I included their Twitter handles. And oddly enough, Allstate reached out to me first. And so I wrote them and told them what my issue was with them. And I haven't heard anything back, but they didn't end up costing me any money. Not really. They did, but they didn't. Because I didn't have to pay anything to Allstate, but I got some bad information initially. What did happen, however, is that I don't just post my stuff early and then drop it. I tend to post it over time as well. I will post certain things if I really like them a couple of months. I space it out so it's not like I'm doing it every single day. In this instance, it was pretty close to a month and I was posting it again and it put that Twitter handle for both of those companies in there again. This time, Enterprise reached out to me. So they reached out to me, and for whatever reason, Twitter would not let me write them a direct message because they weren't connected, which is odd because they let me do it for Allstate, but they wouldn't let me do it for Enterprise. So I said, okay, I will send you an email. So I sent them an email and I explained everything that happened, because they had asked for the number on my contract. I told them what had happened. And within maybe a couple of hours, I get a phone call from a regional director. And he says, I'm sorry this happened. This shouldn't have happened this way. Here's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to refund you the extra money that you shouldn't have had to pay because I think our people fell down on this. Now, I'm feeling good. However, I'm also a guy who has done customer service training. So I said, really, I appreciate what you're doing for me, but the folks there in the office, I need to tell you some things. And I told some things. Now, I don't know if he'll go back and find out who was working that day, but I happened to mention, that there were a few things that were lacking. And I also said something, and this is what my big customer service issue was later on. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Allstate called you guys. I didn't call you guys. And Allstate called you guys. And if it's me working in the office, the first question I ask is, are you going to cover the insurance on the car? Now, I understand that everyone doesn't have like the high level of insurance. I pay a lot of money for my insurance. I don't care. I want to be covered for almost anything. So I pay a pretty good dollar. However, customer service should have asked them, are you covering the insurance? So that when I showed up, no matter what I said to them, they should have known whether my insurance was covering it or not. Now, I have precedent for this. I work in healthcare. And one of the things that happens is that sometimes you have to call an insurance company for verification of coverage over certain things or see if they're going to authorize it. And you ask that question because, you know, people come in with different things, and some things, like if they're coming for lab tests, not a big deal. Coming in for x-ray, not a big deal. Coming in for a surgery or some kind of invasive procedure, hospitals are supposed to call. And so we call so that when the patients come in, we can tell them whether they're covered or not. As a matter of fact, if they're not covered, we're going to call them at home and let them know, hey, your insurance company's not covering this for this reason. So why wouldn't I think that other industries would do the same thing? Like I said, they talked. I didn't call Enterprise, although I have an Enterprise card. I actually have a national card, and it covers 3 different car rental places, and one of them happens to be Enterprise. So he said, you know, you're right. That is something that we probably should do, especially when it's the insurance company that's calling us instead of the buyer. Thank you for that. And he appreciated me telling him this because he hadn't really thought about it until I said something. So the reason I'm doing this is first to thank Enterprise for taking care of my issue. I really appreciate that. I love getting some of my money back. But it's to let everybody else know that if you feel wronged and it costs you money, by all means, reach out in some way. Like, for instance, if I hadn't had Twitter, I would have written a letter. I just would have, because it stayed on my mind for a long time, and I hated that it cost me that much money when it shouldn't have. I would have eventually written a letter, and I would have included all my detail in it. And who knows? But Twitter is great. If you can find a Twitter handle of a business and you put it out there, those folks are going to reach out to you most of the time. I think that I've got a very good rate of people who have gotten back to me. Hasn't always been for money, but every once in a while it's like, let me ask this question, let me put it out there to the company, and they have gotten back to me to help me out with my issue. It never hurts to try to get some kind of restitution or some kind of answer to an issue that you have with the company if they have irked you. Hopefully they don't irk you all that often so that you're not one of those people like me. Oh man. I had a great success rate when I was younger. I guess my success rate still works out pretty well. Luckily, folks don't irk me all the time because I don't want to be that guy. But that was $200. I got that $200 back. I'm a happy guy. So anyway, that's what this was about. You reach out to customer service, but you do it without being overly mean. All I did was tell my story in a video. And I guess they watched it, or they at least saw something, and they contacted me. There you go. My name is Mitch Mitchell. I'm probably going to have a video on Saturday. And if Zakia, if you're watching and you watch to the end of this, you prompted the video for Saturday. Actually, Sunday. I said Saturday. I meant Sunday. Y'all take care.